Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the St. Mark's Kids Chat. Our lesson for today is from Mark chapter 6, verses 14 through 29, and it's about the death of John the Baptist. Pretty cool guy, right? We were pretty sad to hear about this. So King Herod had John the Baptist arrested. Let me tell you why. So John had been saying to Herod, "It is not lawful for you to have your brother's wife." Are we supposed to have our brother's wives? No, not a good idea, right? So King Herod married, her name was Herodias, who was the wife of Philip, and Philip was King Herod's brother. So Herodias, the wife, was kind of nursing a grudge, which means that she was kind of mad at John for saying that to them, right? And she wanted to kill him. And so her plan came to life one day on King Herod's birthday. Now I'm going to read to you Mark chapter 6, verses 21 through 29, because it really paints the picture of the whole story. So finally, the opportune time came. On his birthday, Herod gave a banquet, which is like a party, right, for his high officials and his military commanders and the leading men of Galilee. When the daughter of Herodias came in and danced, and she pleased Herod and all of his dinner guests. So if it's Herodias' daughter, that really means that it's King Herod's niece, right? Because he married Philip, his brother's wife. So imagine his niece coming in and dancing all inappropriate for him and all of his guests. Is that a good thing? No, not a good thing, right? So the king was so happy and pleased with the girl, he said, "Ask me anything you want and I will give it to you." And he promised her with an oath, "Whatever you ask for, I will give it up, and you can have half of my kingdom." So she wasn't sure what she was going to ask for. So she went out and talked to her mother, who's Herodias, right? And she says, "What should I ask for?" And so she said the mother said to her, the daughter, "I want the head of John the Baptist." And so that's what the daughter did. She went back to King Herod and said, "I want the head of John the Baptist on a platter. That's what I want."
Ugh.
So,
that's kind of gross.
Yikes. So it says in here, it says the king was greatly distressed, but because of his oath and because he was in front of all of his fancy dinner guests, he decided to immediately go and get an executioner to go out and bring John's head back on a platter.
Imagine just seeing John the Baptist's head. It's like,
can you
John
imagine?
head.
It's pretty terrible, right? It's pretty awful.
Very gross.
Yeah. So he presented it, and he did what they requested, which was pretty sad. So let's do a quick little demonstration down here about this. So come on down. I'm gonna have you guys come right here. Okay. Now we have two trapezoids here. Can you guys see these little trapezoids, right?
Yep.
Can you point to the one that looks bigger? Which one looks bigger? This one look bigger?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So this bottom one, this one right here, kind of looks a little bit bigger. So in our human minds, sometimes we think of sins as being bigger and worse than other ones, right? Sometimes in our own human minds. So tell me some of the big sins that you remember from our lesson that I just read to you. What are some examples?
Cutting off John the Baptist's head.
Okay.
And putting it on a platter.
Yes, so cut off John's head. That's really bad, right? Mm-hmm. So that's a really bad sin, right? So what are some other examples that you can think of? Put your head down back so everybody can see you. So what are some other things? Murder, yeah, which is kind of the same thing, murder, right? So it's the same thing as cutting off the head.
Stealing.
So what did they steal?
Not this lesson, but in general.
Okay,
stealing.
but I'm talking about this lesson. In this lesson, what are some things that you remember? So what did Herodias' daughter do?
Go to her mom.
Yeah, go to her mom and what?
And ask.
And ask, right? So she went along with it, right? So she went along with her mother's plan to kill, right? So, and did she dance inappropriate?
Yes.
Yeah, bad dancing. And you know, the list could go on, right? So what about the executioner?
That should be illegal.
Actually killed him, right? I'll point to the little, you know, arrow to murder, right? The executioner went along with it. Herodias's daughter went along with the request for, you know, asking for John's head on a platter, right? So what about King Herod? What was John's initial warning to him and Herodias, Philip's wife? What did King Herod do with his brother's wife? Married, right? So you don't want to take your brother's wife, right? So take brother's wife, right? Not a good thing. So we have all these things on this one trapezoid that looks so much bigger, right? So much bigger, right? So let me ask you, what are some things that you think in your own mind as being like a small sin? What do you think?
Like
Not feeding the dog.
So not obeying, right? We'll say not obeying because that's something that I ask you to do. What are some other things that you can think of? You said one earlier, sir. Stealing, okay. What else?
Like disobeying.
Disobey, yep, I have that on there. Not obeying. What else?
Not obeying your mama and dad.
Yeah, we got obeying. What else can you guys think of? What are some other things that you think are kind of just little sins that you get away with sometimes?
Like maybe like
Feeding the fish.
Okay. Well, what about things like lying?
Yeah, lying.
Right, lying or being mean, right?
deceiving.
Being mean. Okay. So do these sins look smaller than these big sins that King Herod and Herodias committed over here? But guess what? They are all the same size to God, okay? So watch what I'm going to do. You think that this is smaller than this, right?
Yeah.
But watch what happens when I take this smaller sin and I put it over the big one. It's the same size, right? Pretty wild, right?
That's a cool kind of like optical illusion.
It is an optical illusion, and that's exactly what Satan wants us to think about our sin. We think, oh, well, we didn't, murder anybody or anything like that, or cut off John the Baptist's head. I only just didn't obey my mom, right? So to God, sin is sin, right? Which is why all of us need Jesus so much, right? Including King Herod and including us. So we need to make sure that we are standing firm and not allowing people to influence us in a bad way, the way that Herodias kind of influenced King Herod, right? So there's one thing that both John the Baptist and King Herod have in common. What do you think that is? Can you take a guess? I'll tell you. It's fear, right? So King Herod feared what others might be thinking of him, right? Which is why he did all of these things, right? He was like, oh, I can't be, embarrassed in front of my guests, and I made this promise to my niece. I have to go along with it, right? But you know what? The other thing that John feared was God, right? Which is why he was bold enough to tell King Herod the truth about his relationship with Herodias. So come on down here, Max. You just press the dishwasher button. So anyway, so should we be like John the Baptist or should we be like King Herod?
John.
We should be like John, right? And remember, to God, sins are all the same size, right? All right, everybody. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye.